Hello, YouTubers. This is a new session where we get to continue our journey of building like a localized LLMs. This particular session, though, is kind of bringing it all together, like bringing it all to fruition. And what I mean by that is that, okay, you can, run, you can fine-tune your own LLM, you can stand up an API that you can consume, like we showed in the last session, but I want to take this with me, right? I want a mobile app or a web interface that allows me to interact with my local LLM. So how do you do that? If you remember, last time I basically showed you, let me kind of show you here real quick. I showed you how you can basically spin up like a simple console application that would allow you to do that. Let's take a look here. There it is. We spun up a simple console application. We stood up an API, and the API basically, let's go ahead and just kind of show everyone here for those who didn't catch the last session how to do that. So this is our API right here, and I want to start this API. So I'm just going to spin up this API. Just want to make sure that we have the pieces that we need here. There we go. This is the port that it's listening to. So it's basically listening on port 7102, and this is the client. I'm gonna try to run this client in its own new instance. There you go. And then I'm gonna go here and say, hi, what is the capital of France? And then you can see like on the other side, which is like the API side, it's basically like it loaded the model, it's communicating, it's doing all the things that you want to do there, which is great. Okay, so if I have that, that's great. So that means I have some sort of an interface that I can work with, but that's not the very common interface. You can't deploy a console application like that and tell people to use it, or it's not something very useful for you when you're like on the go when you're trying to do something with your LLM. So let's build together an actual interface for this. I'm gonna let me kind of increase the percentage here on the screen for you so everyone, especially people on their phones, can see what I'm doing. Here we go, and let's start a new project. So I want to build this in Blazor. I'm going to create a new Blazor hybrid application. So this is Blazor.net Maui Blazor hybrid app. And I'm going to try to stick to the same naming convention. So it's llm.offline.streaming.app. So that's a simple app. I'm going to try to even deploy it on my phone. Let's see how that goes. So it's just a simple application. If I put this as my startup application right here, and then run this. It will run on a Windows machine. You can, if you have emulators installed or whatever, this will do that trick for you. So let's kick that guy off here. It's loading. It's doing a lot of fun stuff. There you go. So now you have a basically simple application, right? Running in here. Okay, so we know that we have an app running. Let's go ahead and build a broker for this. And just kind of to be very clear about the architecture of what we're building and all that, I want to step here a little to show you what we're building. So, okay, so if you remember this, we built an API. This is my API. And the API basically talks to your large language model. So it receives a request and it streams these requests. So that's your LLM right here. And I think, we're using Mistral for this, which is a great model, great free open source model that you can use. But now we're going to need to build the Blazor application in here. And that Blazor application is going to talk to your API through a broker, right? So you're going to call this endpoint, stream the response, and then put that on the screen. Let's see what that looks like. So for starters, on the app itself, I'm going to go and create a new folder in here. I'm going to call it brokers. Brokers. And under brokers, I'm going to create LLM API broker. And I'm just going to copy the same code that I did last time, right? So in the client itself, I had this code right here that already did that call for me. We're going to clean it up and gut it out a little bit because, this time you're actually exposing it as a method, so public async, iasync enumerable of a string, and then prompt async, and you want to send in that prompt over the wire. And I want to make sure that, the code that we have in here, of course, please don't reinitialize an HTTP client every time you run the thing. This is just for demo purposes. I'm trying to kind of get you a piece of information that you can use as soon and as fast as possible. We have a bunch of dependencies here that we want to pull in. Throw away all of that. I don't need the user input at all. Let's take away that stuff. Let's pull in the serialization in. Anywhere where it says console write line, not needed. Console read line, not needed. This was only for the purpose of uh, the console, right? And then you have the chats. Okay, that's great. Create, and then you have ensure. This is all good. I guess the only difference is that I want to return the token. Yield return the token. Yield return token like that, right? So this way, um, I'm basically creating this object for you. The serialization. I'm basically saying, okay, deserialize and return over the while, and that's my prompt async. Great. So I have a broker, and this broker sits right here. So inside that Blazor application, you have a broker, and we're gonna build a component. Usually, you need to drop a service right here in the middle, but because this is just a POC, I'm just gonna have my component directly just initialize and run my broker right here. I'm not even gonna do an add transient or anything, just to give you that kind of quick feedback, and we can standardize and productionize whenever we're ready. Okay, so you have that broker. Let's go ahead at the home level, and what do I need here? I basically need, I don't know, maybe um, I need somewhere to put the chats. So maybe it's a paragraph each. We'll get to that part. Let's just start with a div, and inside that div, I want let's say you have a list of chats. Right? So it's a string, and these are your chats like this. And these are chats. So basically, for each chat, please don't write C# code in your markup. Use the pretty Blazor. It'll help you do markup much better than that. But okay, so this chat in chats like this, and I want to drop a paragraph each. We're gonna make this really pretty very soon, but hang in there for a second. So this is my div, and this is me basically just kind of dropping the chat. So every time a new chat is added, because you're communicating with a system, every time that happens, you get to kind of drop a new block, a new paragraph, basically. Now, why this guy's tripping? Let's see. Let's see why this guy's angry. It doesn't know why it's angry. It's just angry. No, don't do that. Extract element to a new component. No, we don't need to do that. Okay, so let's just go back to this guy. Okay, I'm gonna assume that it's just tripping. Like if I go and do build, is it actually? Yeah, it doesn't see anything. And be careful with that. Like, still with Blazor, the rich editor is not mature enough to give you that quick feedback, and that's fine. Let's go ahead and initialize our LLM broker. Is that what we called it? LLM API broker. LLM API broker. So that's your LLM API broker, like that. And I want to initialize that once. Again, you want to inject that through, like, properly inject that. But because this is a demo, I'm just going to show you a quick initialization of this thing. I'll keep a little bit of manners though when it comes to writing code. I'll put a fat arrow in here. But what really matters though is that I want to be able to send a chat. So I need a button in here, and this button says send, and that button will have an input text area. So input text area like that. And this text area is, let's bind its value with message, right? So this is a text area that we will, write code into it. So basically what you're visualizing here is basically something like this. So you have a place where the chats show up, but you want to also have something where you have this text area and maybe a button in here. And this button says send message and whatnot. You have to kind of visualize it in your head when you're building this markup. So this is send message, send like that, and that's where the chats are basically showing. So this is your chat, and then this is how the system responds, and so on and so forth. And you want to make it pretty, and we'll make it pretty in a very unexpected way in a second. But yeah, you basically respond, and this is how that's basically what I'm trying to implement here. So we implemented this area, that's the iteration part, but I want to add a text in here and a button. So this is my text area, that's the message. So let's initialize that message. String message like that, since I want to use the primitive type of that. Okay, so you have these chats. And now I want the like to actually send the message to the LLM, right? And this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So async task. So send message async. Okay. So where's my prompt? The prompt is going to come from this message. That's your prompt. So okay, so then what I'm really doing here is that I'm basically saying when this message is sent, I want you to add this message to the chat. So this dot chats dot add, right? This dot message. So this means when I click send, it will show my message first, and then it will send an API call to go find what the LLM wants to say and all that fun stuff, right? So okay, so I'm adding this chat in here, and then I'm basically going and saying um, await for each string word. That's every word that's coming from the LLM dot prompt, and the prompt is coming from the message, right? So that's me prompting using the message, and I'm basically, now watch this part. This part here is where you basically want to go and say this dot chats dot add. I'm gonna add an empty thing in here, like there's nothing here really, because I want to use that later dot chats and do this last element. Watch this. This last element, because I want to keep updating that last element with whatever is coming, because that's IAsync enumerable. So it's updating in real time. And I'm going to go and say state has changed. So every time a message comes back from that LLM, it gets displayed in real time without actually creating a new message, right? So it's going to show my message and it's going to do this. And the last thing I want to do is basically go and say empty the message. So this is string.empty, because when you send the message, it's supposed to go up there. You're not supposed to see it anymore. That should be really it. It's just as simple as that, right? It's a quick, 15-minute thing. Let's go and just start the API first. I don't know. I think the API is still running. Yeah, it is still running. Perfect. Is it? Let me kill that. Let's start the API again. So set as a startup project, run. Let's run the project. Give it a second there. Yeah, there it is, 7102. And then I'm going to start the actual app. So debug, start a new instance. Oh, we have an error. Let's see, inconsistent property, accessible, whatever. What did I do? Oh, it's internal. Let's make that public for now. And let's go ahead and run. Let's just build this thing first. It's not gonna let me because of the other instance that's running. Okay, let's start. If it fails, it'll tell us. Code is perfect. It's gonna run, right? There you go. So it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but we're gonna make it the prettiest thing in the world in a second. But what I really want you to look at here is that is it actually working? So hi, how are you doing? And then send. Did it actually do anything? Oh, what I forgot? I forgot to do the binding, right? You need to, not the binding, you need to do the on-click event, right? Like the button is there, but it didn't actually do much. So on-click like this, and then send. Send message async. There you go. Now that should work. So starting this again. Or was it already running? Okay, let's start this again. And then let's run the app one more time. All right, here we go. So now hopefully we get something. Hi there, how are you? There you go. It didn't delete the message though. We should probably make it delete the message before it starts getting responses. Yeah, that's my bad. We can fix that. But as you can see here, where's this coming from? It's coming from my local LLM, like literally my local LLM that's running on the server right there. I'm not going anywhere else. It's just going and basically responding to my stuff. So let me just fix this one annoying bug first. So I want to go and say I already added the message there, so empty the message. Maybe I should because I still want to keep I still want to keep the value of that message. Let's do this here. String prompt equal this dot message like that. I'm gonna take that prompt and drop it here. And then I'm gonna add the message to the chat, and then I'm gonna empty that message, and then I'm gonna start that last kind of thing. That should do it. That should do the trick. We just want to make sure it works first, and then I'm gonna do something really cool with the visualization of it. It's not my own doing, but we have some new tools and new resources, so I may as well evolve with it. Here we go. And then zoom in, and then here is hi, what is the largest city in the world? Send, there you go. So it emptied the box and then it started to talk to me. Amazing, right? But this looks not very appealing. I don't like the looks of it, right? Well, you got tools and use these tools. So I have you can either use your local LLM or I could just go to GitHub Copilot and basically say make this really pretty. And I'm just gonna go. I don't think I needed to kind of add the code, all of it in here. I could have just said, you know, use the currently active document, but I'm using basically Copilot to write this code to make it visually appealing. That's all that CSS stuff and whatnot. So I'm gonna copy that CSS. I'm gonna drop it in here. And now let's see what our app actually looks like. So if I go and run a new instance of this, using AI to write AI. It's great. There you go. Here's a nicer looking thing. And they're like, hi there, how are you? Tap, enter. There you go. So a little nicer, right? I had better luck with the experimental version of this, but yeah. Let's see, what is 1 plus 5? There you go. And you got a system running, right? You can make it more appealing. You can, change the look and feel of it, but that's you interacting with your local model. The idea of this is not really like I want to give you just the head start and the tooling that you need to kind of be able to interact with your local LLM. Because what's going to happen is that you want to be able to kind of deploy that. Let's try and deploy that together since we're at it. You know, I want to take my LLM with me, but the problem here is that when I deploy that on my mobile app, the problem that you're going to see is that your mobile app is not going to be able to hit a local API, right? Because it's able to hit a local API here because it's on the same computer. You know, I could open the same port and have the mobile app communicate since we're in the same Wi-Fi. But what if you're out there on the go? That's a whole different session that I want to talk to you about when it comes to kind of distributed systems exposing your API, how do you deploy your LLM API to somewhere else remote where you can actually communicate communicate with it from wherever you want, if anywhere in the world. That's another session for that. But hopefully you kind of found this a little bit useful. Of course, I'm gonna push the code to the same repository. I know it just generated a whole bunch of stuff in here, but I'm just gonna go and say POC add mobile app right here, and then push this all the way to the same repo. I'm gonna drop uh, the um, drop the links for the repository. I'm gonna drop all the details you need. Please watch the previous session of how we kind of created that API, or previous sessions where we basically talked a little bit about how to have an LLM, how to download an LLM, how to interact with an LLM in C Sharp, and all that kind of stuff. I hope you find this a little bit useful. There's a lot more important things that I want to share with you, so stay tuned, stay with us, and I'll see you in another session. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe.